Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to another episode of Real Women Atlanta Live. Thank you guys for being with us today. We've got another amazing show in store. As always, I'd like to welcome my co-host, Miss Deidre Gary. Deidre, say hello to our viewers.
Hello, hello, hello. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Woo!
You do that every single week, and it always makes me. I think maybe you need to take over that Mr. Rogers show. Do a black girl version of Mr. Rogers show. What was it? Was it Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or something?
Yes, honey, it'll be the black girls' neighborhood.
The black.
Okay, come on over here to the yard.
Look here. I like that. I like that. I think that's a show. We need to work on that one. The Black Girls Neighborhood. Because, things are quite different in our neighborhoods. So we could teach them a thing or two that Mr. Rogers did not teach them.
Okay, talk about it.
So anyway, thank you guys for being with us today. As always, we are Real Women Atlanta Live. I am your host, Charmaine Moss, and today we've got another great show. We've got an awesome guest, one that I've known for 38 years. Okay, I'm sorry. But I've known her all her life. And she has really grown into an amazing young woman. And so her name is Valencia Smith. She is a city councilwoman with the city of Conyers in Georgia. And last year, she, along with Miss Connie Alsabrook, they made history in the city of Conyers by becoming the first Black women to get elected on the city council in Conyers, Georgia. So, Miss Valencia, welcome to Real Women Atlanta Live.
I don't know if y'all can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We
Hello,
can hear you
everybody.
now.
How y'all doing today on this beautiful Saturday?
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Why don't we start by allowing you to introduce yourself to the viewers? Just tell them a little bit about yourself and the position that you hold.
Okay. Well, thank you, Real Women Atlanta, for having me on this wonderful, blessed Saturday. Thank you, Miss Deidre and Miss Charmaine Moss, for inviting me to partake of your wonderful show. As stated, I am Councilwoman Valencia Smith, representing the city of Conyers as one of the first Black women elected to the city of Conyers City Council in its 165 years. It is definitely a record-breaking year for women amongst all colors in the political industry as well as other industries for breaking glass ceilings around the world. And it's definitely time for Conyers to partake of that as well. So I am a single mother of a beautiful 7-year-old daughter. I am a grad student. I have two bachelor degrees from Georgia State University, and I'm pursuing my master's degree right now in education. I work along with being a city councilwoman, I also work in the school system at Rockdale County High School. I love all of my high school students. The joke about high school students is that you never know what you're going to get them to say, and you never know how they'll feel, but they'll always tell you the truth. And that's the one thing that I respect about my students is that they'll always keep you on your toes, but they'll always correct you when you're wrong. And I appreciate them because not only do they do that, it allows you to have a sense of humbleness. So, but I am thoroughly enjoying 2020, even though we're in the midst of this pandemic. It's definitely allowing people the opportunity to branch out and grow. And it's something that I've learned to embrace over the years, because when you have a call on your life, you never know when the time and day is going to come, but you have to learn to just step forward in it, believe it in faith, and just take charge of the opportunities that's going to come before you. So that's me in a nutshell. And like I said, I'm just enjoying life and appreciating all the opportunities that God has opened and made afforded to me.
Awesome, awesome. So you ran last year for city council, like I said, along with Connie Alsabrook, who ran for a different district in the city of Conyers. Um, what made you decide to run, and what was that like?
Definitely not my choice. I've always been a fan from afar of politics. I always enjoy watching a good debate or two on CNN or all of those local political outlet channels. But it's never something that, if you would have told me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that it would be something that I would be involved in, that I would totally have embraced. It's definitely a call uh, that was delivered by God. And again, I'm not one for disobedience. So I answered the call when He told me that you're going to not only run for this seat, but you're going to win this seat because it's yours and it's destined for you. Um, I'm not a political person by any means, but I am a servant. And I do embrace being a community leader in that aspect. I don't mind being in the realm of politics to do that service, but I don't embrace the nastiness, is what people call it, of politics. I'm here for the people because the people put me here to be representative of them. So when that call came, I prayed humbly, asking God, is this you? And if it is you, make the way clear. And that was my prayer from the beginning of my campaign all the way on to election day. Make the way clear. Any obstacles that came my way, God, you said this was mine. Make the way clear. And it definitely kept me on a focused path to be able to hear from Him and to be able to make those decisions as I needed to be able to win this campaign alongside Connie, who we stayed in touch with during the campaign process, and we prayed for each other because we definitely had our challenges.
And Valencia, Councilwoman Valencia, you spoke of some of these challenges and the things that you all had to face. We don't see that side. You know, we know like, hey, we're rooting, like, hey, we want Valencia. Yeah, she's the one. She's gonna be for the people. Yeah, yeah. You know, we're all on our side, like, you know, holding the posters up and sending messages out, like, yay, we want. But we don't see or go through the things that you guys go through and the processes of everything. Can you talk about the processes of campaigning and all that good stuff?
Yes, ma'am. As you stated, a lot of times people don't see the quote unquote ugly side of campaigning. It is a lot of long hours, a lot of planning, a lot of fundraising, depending on what office you're running for, and a lot of grassroots door knocking. But a lot of times people put their lives out here in the open for people who don't know you to judge, and alongside of being called names that you don't answer to, names that you don't deserve to being called, or being put in emails to be attacked, your family's attacked, the signs that you work so hard to pay for, that your people fundraise to be able to get those signs for you, stolen out of people's yards. Just all kind of rhetoric and antics that are done, and really and truly as myself and Connie would discuss to one another when things would happen, I would always remind her and say, that's just a distraction. It's just a way to kind of get you unfocused so that you're not paying attention to what the task is before you, which is to run a good, clean race and to be able to let people know that you're here to represent them and you want to know what it is that they're in need of so that you can provide that service or try to meet them where they are with providing that service for them. So, yeah, attack emails, my signs got missing. But the smart thing about it is that I had a phenomenal assistant. I like to call her my campaign manager, if you will, Miss Jasmine Lee. She actually came up with the concept of getting signatures as permission to put signs in people's yards, because I was also accused of just sticking signs in people's yards without their permission. So when we would go grassrooting, door knocking, we would not only get people's information, their telephone number, address, email, to be able to correspond with them, we would also get a signature. We would ask them for their vote and we will ask them permission to put a sign in their yard. And we'll say, can we get your autograph so that we have permission for this in case anything happens? We'll be able to state that not only did we have permission to put this sign in the yard, but you trespassed to remove a sign that belongs to me, the candidate, that was in this person's yard, the resident. So that allowed me the opportunity to have evidence, if you will, when I was accused of just basically sticking signs in people's yards. I had evidence to back up the fact that I got permission. And most of those residents kind of jokingly laughed at the signs being taken out the yard. And they just pretty much say, hey, can I get another sign? Matter of fact, give me two of them. That way, if they come back again, I can put two of them in the yard and then hopefully they won't come back anymore. They get frustrated. So, and then the thing that probably threw me off the most, and it took me back, it actually threw me off, I'm going to admit that, was to have another candidate come so close to me aggressively and to have my daughter with me. That kind of really took me back because it should never get to the point where we're taking this thing that personal. I mean, if you've been watching the news, the governor in Michigan is being was almost being threatened to be not only kidnapped but also being taken hostage. I was just discussing with someone this morning that our candidate for president, Joe Biden, has been threatened to not only being taken hostage, but also being, uh, possibly assassinated by a 19-year-old. Like, it should never come to this point where we're taking it that personal, where you're jeopardizing people's lives. That's crossing boundaries. And for that candidate to come that close to me and aggressively speak to me in front of my daughter, that's when I took pause and said, okay, enough is enough. And I actually did a video. I went Facebook Live and did a video and just asked that people who are running in the election year that I was running in, candidates, can we just take a step back? Can we respect people in their personal spaces, and let's just run a good, clean race? You don't have to like the person that you're running against, but respect them personally and just attack them on their politics, attack them on their agenda items, attack them on what they're running for, not because of who they are. That's crossing boundary lines. And definitely kids are a zero tolerance. Kids are out of the equation. You don't come up to someone if they have children with them, or you don't face off someone who is around their family. That's taking it way too far, and you're putting kids at risk, and you're also allowing these children to see who you are as a person. But despite all of that, we overcame it, and God got the glory.
Amen. I guess I'm just I don't understand. Like, I'm I'm definitely an avid voter. I'm definitely about, finding out about the candidate that I'm voting for, getting the details. But politics, girl, nah. I leave that to Charmaine. Okay. Listen, I'm not gonna go through all this stuff with y'all about this politics stuff, okay? But, I just don't understand why politics have to be so nasty and so ugly, or does it have to be nasty? How did this even come about and why? Like you said, let's talk about the issues. Let's go head to head on that and why I'm the better candidate and why I will be the one to serve the candidate. Or serve the people. Why is it that politics has to be the way that it is?
To be honest, Miss Deidre, it's a long history of this. I actually had the opportunity. My best friend has Disney Plus, so she allowed me to be able to watch Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, very controversial Broadway play, right?
Yeah.
The far right don't like it. The far left question it. Um, but very controversial in its own right. But it told the story of Hamilton,
Mm-hmm.
and for it to tell a story in such a modernized way, with of course adding the element of hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
but just to see how people in those times
Mm-hmm.
behave themselves amongst each other, the North and the South, and to see how nasty politics was back then in George Washington days, in Jefferson days, Hamilton days. It is something that is perpetuated today in America. That's the history of
Mm-hmm.
America. They embrace this nastiness,
Mm-hmm.
the showmanship of let me outdo you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can say this year for at least the Democrats, um, when COVID hit, you kind of saw a decline of attack ads on TV, which most people know attack ads really don't make a voter decide that they're going to vote for you or not vote for the other person. It really turns voters off. So I think a lot of times they do that for that little marginal percentage of voters who are undecisive. It allows them the opportunity to kind of put false narratives out there, hoping that somebody takes the bait. And once one person is a believer, it's only a matter of time before it spins out of control and people just kind of spew false narratives. But this negative politics has always been the history of America. And unfortunately, it's something now to where these times that we live in, it's really gotten out of control. I think this is the first time I've ever seen in an election season where people are putting monies together to kidnap elected officials or candidates, to assassinate elected officials or candidates because you don't agree with their politics. Like, you don't know them. You don't say, well, I don't agree with them because of the person that they are. I don't agree with your politics. Like, again, that's taking it too far. Is there a chance for us to kind of press through all of this and get to a point where we have good old fashioned politics to where I can debate you on your platforms and your agenda items and just really speak about the things that matter to the people? Absolutely. But we have to acknowledge that there's a problem. And that's another fault that, Americans have, and I'm including myself in this. Sometimes, depending on what the subject matter is, you don't want to admit your your truths, your faults, your shortcomings, your disagreements on. You rather remain one-sided, which is what you believe in, instead of what's right for the people or what's true as a whole. So there's hope. That's my word for 2020. I have two words: faith and hope. There's hope, long as you have faith, and making sure that your voice is heard, as a voter, as a person who lives here, because we have people who are citizens and who are non-citizens, but it doesn't make you any less American in my eyes. You live here, one way or another. You shop here, so you pay some type of taxes to some degree. So to me, that makes you have more right to be here than anything, despite what your citizenship status is. So it can get back to that. I'm a fond believer of people not necessarily having to wait to be an elected official to serve their community, but get involved now. You can be a point of contact, or you can create nonprofit or organization. There are many young people. I love Gen X right now because they're going beyond boundaries. They're creating programs and nonprofits to try to help establish their mark here in Americas and try to help people worldwide. That's something that you haven't seen in a while. So by seeing that generation grab the reins and the ropes to try to take us forward, it gives me hope to know that we can get beyond this. Politics doesn't have to be nasty. And if you get the right people in the right position, we can change everything that's going on right now.
Awesome. You know, I remember well, not the first time, but last year when I heard the statement that politics is nasty or dirty. Immediately my thought was that politics itself isn't, but people are. And it's true, you know, we do have to get people in office that really care about other people, that their only agenda should be the welfare of the people that they will serve, and not any political agenda for themselves or for big corporations or anything other than that. I think if we could get back to that, if we can get people in office who are about serving and not, as you said, not being a politician, but being a community servant, and being humble, then I believe we can make our country what it should be. I think we've lost our way tremendously. I think in the last 3.5, almost 4 years, we've seen some stuff. Well, matter of fact, the world has seen us in a completely different light. We're not kind. We're not loving. We're a country that shows hatred towards others, bias, be it women being color of your skin, be it your sexual gender or whatever. I mean, this country has shown the world, and I think, you know, God has allowed it in some regards, you know, because it was hidden, you know, up until the last 3.5 years. And so I think going forward, we do have hope for healing this country, healing the racial divides, even with Black Lives Matter and all the things that have incidents that have taken place over the last year or so with George Floyd and Breonna and some of the others. The world itself cried out. Not just America, but the world cried out. And so there is hope. There is hope when you witness those people. I remember one day riding down, I think it was Ashford Dunwoody near the mall, and there was a long stretch of nothing but majority white people holding up signs. This was after George Floyd, and they were holding up Black Lives Matter signs. And I was like, wow, That's incredible. Um, but it shows the essence of who many of us are and who we can become. Um, so yeah, I believe in hope. I believe in faith. So let's talk about the city of Conyers. Now that you guys have made history, um, what are some of the challenges of being the only two black female, or the first two black female on the city council? What are some of the challenges you guys have been facing?
Um, for myself, I'm gonna speak for me first. For myself, I think the funny thing for me, and I remember when I was on the campaign trail, someone asked me, "Are you old enough to run for this seat?" Most people really don't know how old I am, and because I appear to be younger than what I am, until they see my daughter and then they realize, oh, okay, she's got a 7-year-old. Let me do the math. She might be old enough. It's almost the appeal of naiveness. She's young, she's naive, she's never done this before, she doesn't know. Um, we're just gonna tell her what she needs to know, and she'll just, go with the flow, status quo. And that's never been the type of person that I am. Never been the type of person that I've been ever. Um, I spent the good part of my life in retail before switching gears to go into education. So even as a manager in retail, my supervisors and my managers would tell you she's not one to play ball. She's not a good old boy. She's one that's a voice for the people. When there's something that's not right, I'm the first one screaming that that's not fair, that's not right. I don't really care how you feel. I'm representing those people who are being served an injustice, who are being looked at as less than, being treated as less than. And my employees loved me for that because I appreciated them for what they did, but for who they were at that time. And I always spoke into their lives, wanted to motivate them to go beyond their present. I wanted to always speak into their future, which I'm proud to say most of my employees that used to work underneath me are no longer working for that company that I work for. A lot of them are now in the field of preference that they desired to be in when I managed them. And I would like to attribute that to me speaking into their lives and telling them this is not where the buck stops. You need to reach beyond what you could ever imagine or dream of. And, those are the ones that I've kept in contact with. They're doing great. They're proud of me because no one ever thought that I would go into politics, let alone education. But being on the city council, and a lot of people can attest to seeing it because we now stream it on Facebook Live. Uh, I'm pretty much the boisterous one out of the two, me and Connie. I'm the one that's very quick to speak up for something that it doesn't, if it doesn't seem right, doesn't sound right, doesn't fit. I'm always the one that is wanting to speak up for those businesses or residents that I feel are going to be affected by a decision that is before us to make. I think that myself and Connie battle with being the first two Black women on this council because a lot of times when a council is predominantly male, they don't really understand some of the things that can affect us as women, let alone us as Black women. So it's almost, kind of unheard of for them. Like we just had a conversation a couple days ago, requesting something, and they could not see why the request was valid. And we came up with every possible reason to why we needed what we needed, and they could not understand as men why we were making a request. And it took finally somebody, speaking of our city attorney, to say, well, you got to remember, these are women. These are young women, and if they don't get this particular item, their safety could be at risk. And that's when it clicked. Oh, yeah, we as men we don't have that problem. And it's like, oh, okay, well, now you understand our point of view. And I think it's now dawning on the rest of the council that, we can be treated equally, but never forget that we're not equal. You're a man, we're women. And at the end of the day, some things are going to affect us differently. And that's okay. You just need to make sure that you understand it and you accommodate. And so I think that's now where the understanding is starting to be embraced a little bit more. Before it wasn't. And now they're starting to realize that not only do we come to these council meetings, we sit there, we attend, we listen, but we're being proactive. We're not just allowing things to come before us on an agenda, read it the night before, and vote on it 2 to 3 days later. No, we're going in the neighborhood, in the communities, at the businesses that, these decisions will affect. And we're asking questions. We're writing down statements and concerns, and we're bringing it back to the chambers to discuss, because those residents and those businesses may not be able to attend that meeting, but we want to make sure their thoughts, their concerns, their questions get heard and get answered. So they're starting to see we're taking this thing seriously. I've signed up for 3 classes that I'm taking between the end of October and November, and I'm signing up for a ton more. I don't want to just sit here and just serve. I want to serve with purpose. I want to make sure that I'm obtaining the knowledge that is available to me so that I can make sure that I'm serving, but I'm serving with purpose and with the knowledge that is needed to make sure I'm representing those people that I represent well.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Now, if you can kind of give the importance of, because everyone is always concentrating on the big election. It's Trump and Biden right now. I've come down the street and somebody's wearing a Trump flag across their bag. I didn't hit them. Don't worry. I didn't do nothing to them. But I was waiting at that light, like, ooh, this light better hurry up and turn real quick. Okay, anyway, that was bad politics. See, we just got away from that, and here I go. Sorry. But if you can kind of talk about the importance of what is a councilwoman, what is your position within our government, and all the other, where a lot of us just we're running to talk about Trump and Biden, but not concentrating on these important areas, such as yourself, which is a councilwoman. What is a role of a councilwoman?
The role of a councilwoman, and I'm gonna be very gender neutral, because I know there's people on at some point that will want to be a councilman too, and there's nothing wrong with that. The role of a council member is to not only serve your community, but you're local, you're touchable, or at least you're supposed to be touchable. You're reachable, you're approachable, and you're able to connect with people locally to find out not only what is the city doing great, but what are we not doing so great. And in your thoughts and opinions, what can we do better, and how can we fix what we're not doing so great in? That should be the role. Being able to convene together with your fellow council members and your mayor in a meeting civilly, and be able to discuss those agenda items and make conscious decisions that are best for the community, not for one person, not for the business owner that wants to come in, not for the builder that wants to come in, but for the community. That's what the purpose of that is. You are an extension of that community to the city. You are, quote unquote, that middle person, because a lot of residents may not feel comfortable attending a council meeting. A lot of residents may not have time. But if you are that middle person between the city and the residents, the community, or the city and the business section of that community, you're able to report back from the community to the city what thus says the city from that community, or vice versa. If things are getting ready to evolve, getting ready to change in the city, and you're able to give that information out, you're the source to be able to connect with the community and say, hey, this is what's getting ready to happen. This is what's getting ready to come. If you're not a proponent of this, then I would advise you or encourage you to come and make your voice and your concerns heard, or come at our meeting and be able to address the council and the mayor and get your questions answered. That's the purpose. Unfortunately, it's become such a stigma, and it's not just here in Conyers, it's in every municipality, that most people don't attend a city council meeting. Most people can't even tell you who their city council representative is. So uniquely, my best friend, and she gonna kill me, but that's okay. She's admitting her flaws. She's out in Texas, and she went to cast her ballot yesterday in this year's election. Now, she doesn't miss an election. She's always voting, always. She never misses an election. But there was a city election, a local municipal election, along running congruently with the general election for president. She had no clue who the candidates were. And if it wasn't for one of the candidates that's on the ballot in her district that she needed to vote for, that walked up to her, she would have not known what either one of them looked like. And she didn't know who to vote for. And I'm literally on the phone with her saying, well, we need to Google both of these candidates and figure out who's who and what's what. And she ended up casting a ballot for the incumbent, which she was very sad that she did that, because she really wanted to vote for the guy who was running against the incumbent. And she just wished she would have made a better decision. And she said, well, I pray he gets in. And she said, you know what? I'm going to do a better job of finding out who these people are before the election. And not only that, I'm going to make sure I pay attention to when these meetings are. And I screenshot the schedule that was left on the calendar for the year in the city that she lives in. And I sent it to her and I said, well, this is, the meeting times that they have. Y'all actually have a meeting coming up this Tuesday. You need to make sure, if you can't be there, that you're actually online looking at the meeting. And this city not only does their due diligence, they have afternoon meetings, which are at 1:30, and they have evening meetings for every council meeting, which in my eyes, I had never heard of that. A meeting twice in one day for a council. But this is something that they felt was necessary. Not everybody wants to come out in the evening. Not everybody can come out in the afternoon, but let's do it twice, in the same day. And we give the opportunity to the people to be able to catch that meeting at whatever time accommodates their schedule. So I challenge people to participate in not just the presidential, participate in every election. The presidential is definitely necessary, because that's the top. That's our top going down. Our Senate, our House of Representatives, our judges. That is a very important race. But 9 times out of 10, when are you going to see the president? I mean, tangibly touch him or her. When are you going to see them in your state, in your city, in a grocery store to where you can touch them? 9 times out of 10, you won't. You won't. Unless you attend a rally or some type of meeting, you won't. And even if you attend that type of event, it's very hard pressed to say that you're going to get that close to them without Secret Service laying you down. So it's very important for you to participate in the local elections that affect the county and the city that you live in, because those people live here. We stay here in Conyers. If you want to get in touch with me, you can pick up the phone and call me. I've given out my personal cell phone number. I couldn't tell you how many times I run into people in Walmart, in Target, in Kroger, getting gas at Quick Trip. And I've allowed, myself the opportunity to be able to embrace those connections with people who may not live in the city, who may live in the county, but one way or the other, I service them. Because of how my city is structured, 9 times out of 10, they're spending money and we're benefiting from the tax revenue from people who live in the county. So I even encourage those people, come to the meetings. Now, just because you don't live in the city limits doesn't mean that everything on our agenda does not affect you. It does. You spend your money in the city, so you have every right to have a concern or a question or a comment for the decisions that are made in the city. It does affect you. So make sure you're always checking the county government website, the city government website, to find out when those local elections are being held and exercise your right to vote. The city elections normally have the lowest turnout, because most people don't think to vote, and it's not publicized as well as a presidential. That's one of the reasons why you only get a 1 to 3% turnout in a municipal election. It's not heavily advertised. That's something that I would like to think that myself and Connie have kind of pushed the envelope a little bit with our election. We changed that. We were very social media heavy. We were very much in your face, yard signs everywhere, door hangers, and we were very much so letting people know that there's an election, there's something to turn out for. And we actually increased the turnout by 2%. Our Conyers only gets a 1% turnout for a city election. We got a 3%. Now that don't seem like much to most people, but to us, we were cheering because all of that hard work that we put in to put, the information out there, people received it and they turned out to cast their ballots. So, I mean, if we keep doing our due diligence and doing our work to make sure that we're properly advertising, not only the elections, but the meetings. Every council meeting, I post the agenda. Awesome. Next door, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. I post it on all of my social media sites. And I challenge people to share it. Whether you live in Conyers or not, share it. I normally do watch parties. Now, the city streams the meeting. I watch party it. So people who may not know, that they can go to the City of Conyers Facebook page to watch the meeting, they know me. They'll see that, oh, Valencia has started a watch party. Let me see what she's, doing. And they'll tune into the watch party and catch the meeting. That's pushing the envelope and using the tools that we have available to get the advertisement and the turnout that we need. And it's definitely been working. Probably not something that some people like, but that's okay. The majority love it, and I get good feedback and commentary from it. So we're going to keep doing it.
Awesome. Deidre, do you have voters in your house, young voters?
I have one, my oldest one that's in college, and then my son just turned 18, so he didn't get a chance yet before the registration started. So I'll have two plus me.
Wow. So have you and your oldest son, have y'all cast your vote yet?
I'm gonna cast mine early. Beforehand, he's got to come back home.
Okay.
To do his because he's in Alabama right now. But yeah, we definitely are. I don't know about the mailing. I don't know if I'm comfortable with mailing the absence. I'm just not, because he could, but I'm like, you got to come back home and go and put your vote in and go, make sure you put your hand, touch, boom, boom, put your name on it, touch it. I don't know. So I'm a little weary about that system, but yeah. I'll be going next week because by the 30th, before the early, I want to knock mine on out and get it done. So.
Yeah, that would be good. I did mine on Monday. I think I did mine Monday. And here in Rockdale County, we only had one polling place open, and the lines were crazy. But this week, on Monday, they opened up a second polling place. Right. And I walked right in and right out. So so that was quite amazing.
Let me tell you something. I don't care if it took me 3 days. I had to get some Popeye's chicken, honey, I had to rile them kids up in the car. Y'all look, go to the back, in the back, use the bathroom, come on back. I got to let me tell you, honey, this election, I'm going to make sure, I don't care how long it takes. Okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the week before, when they first started, I believe the first day that they had, it was either the first or second day when they had the early voting. I received a text message from the chair commissioner in the county saying that there were people that, elderly people that needed chairs, to sit on because the lines were just that incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in the storage shed, pulled out some folding chairs, wiped them things down, threw them in the car, and took them out there. We took water, bottled water also, and gave them out in the line. I mean, when I said the line was long, it was
Wow.
long. It was long.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to encourage people to, let's even get involved in that way. Let's try to accommodate those people that are trying to vote. Even if it's taking some water to them or whatever it is that you could do. Somebody that bakes might want to take some cupcakes, or there'd probably be a lot of cupcakes, but whatever. But whatever you can do to help out and to encourage people to stay in the line and cast their vote. We need to do it. But this is a very important election. We were talking earlier about the incredible rate of young people that are getting out and voting. That is, it's been in record numbers that they've been turning out and voting. So, Valencia, what do you say about speak to the young people about how important it is for them to vote? And let me say this: I heard not long ago there were some celebrities that were talking about. We've got to do more than just tell people that there were people that died for them to have the right to vote. We've got to do more than just say that. And then there was another who said we cannot forget, the history. We can't forget those people that did die for the right for us to vote. So we can't eliminate that. That's just as important then as now as it was then. So what do you say to young people? And right before we end the show, tell us or speak to the young people and tell them how important it is for them to vote.
Well, this election year is definitely an important election year. I've seen a lot of people say vote like your life depends on it, because it does. That's definitely true in this scenario where we are in the midst of a pandemic. Uh, Over 200,000 Americans' lives have been lost. This week that we just closed out alone, 80,000 new cases have arisen in the United States. So it's definitely something that needs to be on everybody's to-do list, at the top of your to-do list. Make sure that you're not only participating by casting your ballot, but make sure that you're doing your due diligence to charge your friends, your family, your loved ones to do the same. I encouraged my students 2 years ago, well, actually a year ago, to get registered to vote. My seniors that I had didn't even know that they could register to vote with the Secretary of State on an app. Now, most millennials, Gen X, kids, students, youth are very app savvy. Well, if you don't advertise that there's an app worth having, then 9 times out of 10, we don't download it. Social media is pretty much the best outlet to connect with the youth, and that's something that I appreciate a lot of the candidates have taken to social media to try to reach. those that otherwise wouldn't watch TV, don't listen to radio, and all we mostly do are click onto a Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram app. So, or even TikTok, which is now the latest app. And it seems like TikTok has turned from being a dance kind of app into a very political awareness app. So I just want people to understand, and it's something that just recently hit me. They're going under attack in Nigeria right now. You'll see a lot of Nigerians who are in America. You'll see them hashtag in SARS. Well, a lot of people don't understand what defunding the police means. If you don't find some type of control with police and making sure that people learn how to de-escalate situations, America can easily turn into Nigeria, where the police have so much control, so much power, that they're basically the judge, the jury, and the executioner of the people.
Wow.
That's not what America is representative of. That's not what we should want to be. We're a democracy, and we should never want our military, let alone our police, to succumb to the power that this militia has over in Nigeria, to where they're pretty much executing people on site because of what they look like, because of their political feelings, because of them not liking, the power that's being handled and controlled by the government and by the police. If you want to understand Black Lives Matter, if you want to understand why we are voting like our lives depend on it, turn your eyes and your attention briefly to Nigeria and what they're struggling with. That's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid that kind of political airness from coming our way, because that's what's going to continue to happen. There was a 19-year-old that just died in Illinois 2 days ago from a routine traffic stop, and he was a passenger. Young Black guy. His girlfriend got shot, and he got shot. He died. So he's now the new George Floyd.
Wow.
He's no longer here. Now, I would have thought George Floyd would have been enough for most people to say, okay, systemic racism does exist. We do need to vote and make sure our voices are heard, our vote does count, and make sure we are doing our part to change the face of reality of what we're living in America.
Right.
But shortly after George Floyd, you have the Breonna Taylors, you have this young man now in Illinois, you have people being hung in the South, and they're calling it suicide. No one hangs themselves publicly. You just don't. So I say to my youth, like I tell my students, you may not understand the why. You may not, and that's okay. It's okay to not understand the why, but just know the what for right now. Learn the why as you get older and you become wiser, but embrace the what. The what is you need to go and vote. You need to make sure that you let Big Mama and your mother, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins that are old enough, brothers, sisters, your best friends. If we can talk about the latest dance craze on TikTok, we could talk about standing in this line to go vote.
Amen.
And we need to make sure we're charging each other to do our part. Thank God for, I'm still calling her my first lady because she's my first lady, Michelle Obama and LeBron James. Once he won his championship with the Lakers, he said, okay, now it's time for me to focus on this election again. He paid for thousands of felons in Florida to be able to obtain the right to vote again. He paid for their fees and their fines so that they could register to vote in Florida, because he recognized that is a hurdle that most Black and brown people do not have the ability to jump by themselves. So he reached back with all of his success and his millions and said, let me help you. Help me. Because if they can vote and they can exercise their right for their voices to be heard, he recognizes that in the long run helps him in his economic status and wealth. Because now those people are going to go vote and cast their ballot and make their voices heard, and they're not just watching him on TV.
Right.
So it's important.
It's very important for the young people. I'm sorry. to go out and vote. And I believe that in this election, they will be the ones making a difference. So incredible. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your political wisdom. And everything that we thank you for the things that you've been doing thus far. I believe that you and Connie will be trailblazers, not just for the city of Conyers and Rockdale County, but throughout the state of Georgia and beyond. And so we thank you for that. Deidre, any last words?
I was just getting lost in everything, and then I looked up and realized, like, oh my God, the hour has gone, because I can sit here and talk to this councilwoman for hours more because I have loads of questions, girl. But I'm really, really, really excited. I have been in like constant prayer, especially during this pandemic and this quarantine time where I've had just some space to just, get with God and just watch the world, because now all of our visions, people talk about want to give the cliche about 2020, but I'm sure none of us knew that our vision was going to change to this magnitude. And personally, for me, I have asked God to remove the lens that I normally see out of so that I can put on his lens to see what it is that he wants and purpose, that his will is done here on earth as it is in heaven. So with that, I'm able to just kind of see things differently, even with me not being political per se. I have been praying for God's people to get in position in all areas of, from all walks, from up top all the way, the whole entire government that we need, because we need people that can hear from him. Right. We need people that will be obedient to the call. And listening to you today, I was just like rejoicing silently because God has answered my prayers concerning that. And I see even more so where God is answering even more and just positioning the saints in place, the ones who want to serve, the ones who want to be obedient, the ones who have their ear open and not concerned with the political jammer or whatever's going on in between that, but they're concerned with the people and the blessings of God. So I am just elated to hear, your direction, what you're doing as the councilwoman. And I just see amazing and great things. And I pray that God enlarges your territory. And I'm just excited.
Amen.
So happy.
Amen. Amen. So thank you again, Valencia, for joining us. And thanks to all of our viewers. Our show has now come to an end. But we'll be here again next week, same place, same time. And we look forward to having another amazing guest. So join us next week as we do another great show. So have an amazing week and weekend. And we love you all. Good evening.
I love you.
Love you.